Hold up, I ain't trying to stump, man, but the Yeezys jumped over the jump, man. I be in and out of arenas like I'm Scottie Pippen. Left my elbow in the pot, a la Vince Carter.
Bitch, you weren't with me shooting in the gym?
James Harden with the range on me, nigga, way back.
Coach, they won't knock me off my pivot, forget it.
Been flowing stupid since Vince Carter was on some through the legs arm and a hoop shit.
And you can live through anything if magic made it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, now you do.
Yes, sir. We are back. Round of applause for yourselves. Got a few things on the docket for today. Tiger Woods departing from Nike. Man, Nike's been going through a lot of shifts over the years. Even on the NBA side, a lot of players jumping ship, going to Chinese companies, going to Adidas, going to Reebok, Puma, even Skechers. So we'll take a look at some of the dynamics playing out there and what's going on in the endorsement scene. And also, did Amazon find a way to backdoor the NBA while they're in TV negotiations to kind of do business with them, but not directly doing business with them? And PJ Tucker, the drip god, speaks on the mentality that it takes of being the 15th man on the bench to working his way up the roster, and also how owners in a way kind of leverage the defensive guys throughout the league not taking shots when it comes to their contract negotiations. And finally, we'll touch base on my mini series, Is Your Team Addicted to Trust the Process? And it'll be volume 2 starring the Pelicans, as this season with enough draft assets and sitting at the middle of the Western Conference, will they finally make a move and make a commitment to building the proper roster around Zion Williams. Now, Nike has officially ended their partnership with Tiger Woods, and every once in a while I like to touch base on a few things that happens culturally off the court because it tends to affect what's on the court. But Nike is kind of going through an interesting phase right now, sort of a transition. A lot of their legacy acts are sort of, I don't want to say running out of relevance, but they're not at the forefront of the type of real estate Nike's trying to grab. And when I say real estate, I mean the youth. We see Nike make sure that they had Zion Williams fall under their Jordan brand umbrella, and also Ja Morant. Even though he went through his legal troubles, Nike still backs him. There's a reason for that. They're trying to make sure that their brand is in the subconscious of a newer generation that's coming up. But with a lot of their legacy acts, including Stephen Curry, who used to be on Nike before he blew up, we seen Nike mess up on their renewal pitch for him. They accidentally left Kevin Durant's name on the slide. And Kevin Durant, outside of the court, he's not really that marketable. He's even had an incident where he was asked about his KD 16s and he acted pretty nonchalant about it. Nike has had this issue with him since he first came in the league. KD mostly cares about what goes on the court. He's a baller.
Tell me about these shoes you got on today.
Just another pair of kicks, man. It's the 16th installment, so it's nothing to be too, call home about, brother. It is what it is. It's KD's. You just know they're gonna be on my feet every year.
Appreciate you.
KD's just a hooper for real. But things are really interesting over there. Even with Kyrie Irving, he had one of the best selling shoes at Nike, and he had the attention of the youth. And when I say youth, I'm pretty much referring to children that's in elementary all the way up until, I would say, senior year of high school. But that demographic is really what Nike is after. And just having their stars kind of be a little nonchalant about their product, not as relevant. And also at the same time, they have a lot of competition coming in. We see Skechers entering the marketplace, snagging up stars that play for big markets like Julius Randle out of New York, Nikola Jokic, the league reigning NBA Finals MVP, signing with a Chinese brand, 361, LaMelo Ball getting snagged up by Puma, and even Adidas continuing to make name in the marketplace, getting Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, Derrick Rose, James Harden, Anthony Edwards. It's just a lot of moving parts going on right now, but Kanye West has spoke about this. Even though he does bug out from time to time, he was a person that had his own shoe with Nike. And he does have some insights on their business model and what they're really about. You guys check it out.
Think about like Nike. Nike is as popular as Apple, but it's company number 321. Apple's number 1. Nike's on defense. It's not on offense. Whoa. Right? Because niggas love Nike. right? So Nike is used for political influence because it's not about the money you make, it's about the position you have. So when they signed me to Gap, it wasn't to raise a stock price, it was to be able to be like, to tell the Fortune 500 companies that do deals with China, to tell them, hey, Gap has influence in the underserved communities.
Kanye West does bug out from time to time, but damn, he be dropping some gems sometimes. And Nike has looked very defensive over the past 20 years. They don't really have any big name product they just reintroduced other than the Kanye West Yeezys. That's probably their newest concept shoe that they had people go crazy for. But they have gone on the splurge of just signing people that are relevant and have a lot of hype among the youth, like Ja Morant and Zion Williams, which pretty much so far has backfired for Nike. Those guys are not as relevant as it's supposed to be in the NBA right now. Zion due to his weight issues, and Ja Morant all his off the court antics. But remember, they were quickly to hop off the Kyrie Irving train, but they stayed with Ja Morant even though he had multiple incidents showing off guns and acting a fool. But the infamous checkmark does have a place in pop culture relevance. As we've seen, they told Kanye West they don't sign people that aren't athletes just to see the success he had with Adidas, then turn around and sign Drake. They were late to the party. And as far as Drake, he's another figurehead of the whole Nike team that's kind of dwindling down in relevance. Yes, he's still a big cultural figure, but when it comes to that youth demographic, from elementary school all the way up until 18, he's not actually the person they're really looking up to. That's the main demographic year in, year out. Nike wants to capture them at a young age to have them eventually become adult consumers for the rest of their lives. That's their business model. And politically, just like how Kanye West said, they do have real estate in that realm, as we've seen it play out with Colin Kaepernick. And with all those Muhammad Ali type imagery commercials that they had for him during the last election cycle, Nike does have prime influential real estate to provide politically. So what Kanye's talking about is no bullshit. Again, he does bug out from time to time, but he sprinkles a few gems in there. And going back to their legacy acts, even Kobe Bryant, before his death, he had a meeting already scheduled a week after he died to go over his prototype shoe. He had plans on leaving Nike. The prototype is out there. He had his own technology shoe, and pretty much the relationship with Kobe and Nike, it was done already. And even after his death, it kind of spilled out because they were still making his shoes, and his wife, you know, she made that post on social media condemning the Gianna Kobe Bryant shoes that was released. Somebody was reselling it. She couldn't believe Nike was letting people exploit Kobe's death for profit. It took over a year for that family to sign back on with Nike. So they are at a very interesting crossroads, even though they do hold the #1 position in the athletic footwear and just athleisure wear department. And a lot of those issues really stem from their legacy acts. How much can they actually hold up Nike's relevance, even though they haven't really released any dynamic products in over 20 plus years? They're still releasing Air Jordans that were designed, what, in the 1980s, 90s? It's not like they're ahead of the curve in a way, because they told Kanye West they don't sign people that are not athletes. Just for him to go to Adidas, I mean, if you look at the charts, Adidas from 2012 to 2014, they had 14 billion in sales, which was stagnant year in, year out. Kanye comes in, they go up to 16 billion in 2015, then 19 billion in 2016. And in 2017, it jumped up 21%. Again, Adidas told Kanye they don't sign people that are not athletes, just for him to leave and bring all that growth to a whole nother company. That's a major miss, because Adidas in their whole entire history never had back-to-back years in 2018, 2019 of just 9% growth until Kanye West went over there. And they were also at the same time developing a Boost technology shoe. They kind of launched Kanye's Yeezy Boost along with their other Boost models at the same time, and they killed it. They killed it so much it kind of opened Pandora's box, and that's why you see all these new Chinese companies coming in. Reebok relaunching their basketball department, Skechers launching a basketball department, Puma and other companies not scared to throw money at influencers and designers outside of the typical designer scope. Like they'll go out and get somebody like Pharrell or somebody like Virgil when he was alive. So it is what it is. Nike at this point, they're still number one, but product wise, they haven't really dropped anything crazy to actually keep that spot. But they're sort of entrenched in the, I would say, in the American ecosystem. But these are the beginning of the transitional years for their mega stars. I don't think LeBron James panned out the way they thought he was going to pan out as far as being the greatest player of all time. All the marketing and media influence, it's just not working on the masses to convince them that he is the GOAT. And as the more years go by, younger generations come up, they're not going to care as much about Michael Jordan. So it'll be very interesting to see how Nike pivots in the next upcoming years. And that shows you the importance of players like Zion Williams and Ja Morant. They got to get their act together and they got to start winning on the court to maintain their relevance. And as far as pop culture, Kanye brought something to Nike that Drake doesn't. Innovation. Drake can just only wear the product. He's not going to come out with an innovative shoe. That's just not his lane. Nike in a way purchased Drake's musical algorithm just to have him almost like a walking billboard. If he's advertised on Spotify or any other music streaming service, you'll see him wearing a Nike logo. Or like his Laugh Now, Cry Later music video, the whole thing was a Nike ad. But again, we'll see how it works out with their legacy acts. Tiger Woods departing from the brand. Kobe, if he was alive, he would have departed from the brand also. So interesting times for Nike. So the NBA right now is in very early talks with their current TV partners TNT and ESPN. And something very interesting has taken place because part of their leverage was to come to the table leveraging the fact that streaming companies were now going to want to partner up with the NBA, thus increasing the price that they're going to be asking for. Now, Diamond Sports, who basically controls the NBA local teams like the Dallas Mavericks, the Utah Jazz, the Phoenix Suns, they're filing for bankruptcy. And because right now that company is at the mercy of the bankruptcy court, Amazon had kind of came in and backdoored the whole situation, offering Diamond Sports a bailout in which they're going to have to change a few things, restructuring some bad debts and some old lawsuits, but also changing a few configurations to how Diamond Sports kind of handles their local RSN deals with the MLB, NHL, and the NBA. And once again, the games that get played at this type of level is crazy because I'm pretty sure the MLB, NHL, and the NBA have seen how much money Amazon has cut with NFL with their new TV deal. And also they're giving out money for just exclusive games. Amazon in a way has kind of snuck in and kind of got into the business of dealing with these leagues without directly becoming a partner. Now, even though the judge did not approve this deal yet, the leagues still do have leverage over Amazon in a way because with Diamond Sports, they kind of reconstructed their local TV deals in which all the broadcast rights will go back to the leagues at the end of the year because of the bankruptcy. But once again, things got real interesting here because part of this bailout by Amazon is that they're going to settle $450 million of bad debt. That's part one. Another part is Diamond Sports was caught up in a lawsuit for fraud, and basically Amazon's going to come in and finance that with their parent company Sinclair. And the third part of the deal is Amazon coming in and investing $115 million into Diamond Sports after the bankruptcy. And whatever local TV rights that they had is also going to be broadcast on Prime Video. And part of that bankruptcy settlement, if Amazon comes in and this goes through, is that the Bally Sports brand, which has a 10-year deal for $85 million that started in 2020, that contract has to be null and void by the end of the year. So once they drop that Bally Sports name, things are going to be perfectly set up for just Prime Video to be broadcasted during these games. But once again, there's a lot of games being played here because MLB off rip does not like the deal. But it is not really in the hands of these leagues right now because Diamond Sports is in bankruptcy and it's up to the courts because there's other vendors, other people, creditors are trying to get their money and they just want the best deal done along with the judge. But going back to the NBA, the whole storyline has pretty much been that the leagues are going to ask for more money due to streaming services being interested. And Amazon was pretty much one of the prime shakers and movers of the league, pretty much having that leverage of asking for more money. We see Apple as a company not really dive into sports like that, especially things that are not safe. That brand does not want to dive into podcasting or anything where they don't really have control of their brand or voice. And the NBA has been a league where a lot of players speaking out on political issues. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but I'm not sure if Apple wants to dive balls deep into that whole realm. And in a way, they've been kind of conservative when it comes to buying up sports leagues or just buying up TV rights. We've seen them with the MLS. They didn't really give that much money, but they really haven't dove head first, even though they're one of the companies that are sitting on a lot of cash. And in the past few weeks, we've seen Netflix kind of interested in doing kind of docu-series on the NBA, not necessarily diving in and buying games. And Adam Silver, he's sort of in a balancing act because he wants to do a deal with streaming services, but at the same time, he wants to make sure that the games are available for fans. Because the NBA right now, especially with the demographics changing, the younger viewing audience, I would say preteens to about age 21, they don't necessarily watch the games in full. They may catch highlights on YouTube, interactive podcasts on YouTube or just other platforms, or even just catch the best highlights on TikTok and Instagram. So making things exclusive, like how the NFL did for that one playoff game, might actually alienate a lot of fans because the NFL audience interacts with that sport completely different than the NBA does. I mean, they've seen record numbers for streaming on that exclusive game that they had on Peacock. And their numbers overall just keep going up and up and up and up. But once again, Amazon's kind of coming in through the back door, getting Diamond Sports out of some bad debt, and then investing 115 mil into the company so they could kind of play the game with the NBA or just other leagues like the MLB and NHL and say, hey, we don't need to cut a deal directly with you guys, the NBA or the NHL. I believe Amazon does have a deal with MLB right now, but they don't necessarily have to cut a national deal with the NBA, NHL. They could raise their hands and just be like, oh no, that's Diamond Sports. We're just investors. These corporate games that are played on this type of level, there's a lot of money on the line here. And once again, the NBA was kind of using that threat of Amazon potentially wanting to entering into a deal with them as leverage for asking more money from Turner Sports and Disney. But with the local cable industry going through an influx of changes, this allowed Amazon to kind of come in this situation here. This is perfectly played by them. And while the NBA is in early negotiations with their current TV partners, it kind of gives them an idea of where Amazon's head is at, especially at a time where interest rates are high. It's no longer cheap for these mega institutions to borrow money, even though a lot of them are sitting on a lot of cash, but they're still trying to get the best deals as possible. But if the MLB, NHL, and NBA is really concerned about their audience and these blackouts that happen from time to time, depending on where you at in the country, then this deal with Amazon Prime hosting the RSN services on streaming would actually work out better for the customer. But I don't think the customer satisfaction is the actual thing that's being placed first. The dollars is being placed first. I don't think they want Amazon coming in, backdooring them, and actually, in a way, being a partner of the league without directly being a partner of the league. So PJ Tucker did a sit down in which he spoke about how to come up as a guy who started out as almost the 15th man on the NBA roster. I mean, right now, this is a very unique time that we're in as NBA fans and lovers of just the game overall, as we're hearing a lot of different perspectives from different players on their come-ups. And this is why we tend to see the best coaches throughout NBA history were guys that were basically journeymen, because every aspect of the game they had to break down and try to maximize every aspect of the game as much as they could. But PJ's story is very unique because not only he was at the very end of the roster, he actually had to go overseas and he made his way back into the league, and then he eventually marketed himself to be one of the most fashionable guys in the NBA overall, and at the same time being a contributing role man to multiple teams, even the Houston Rockets, who from season to season were battling to get into the NBA Finals. That's a hell of a journey. But you guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
He like, what can I do to be you, right? I said, go watch Game 6 of 2021 Finals, and then come back and talk to me. I played 40 minutes. I shot the ball one time in 40 minutes.
I probably never called you back.
Like Dre, you know this. Like,
oh, I know.
On a night-to-night basis, in my mind, I don't even set myself up to like, yo, I'm gonna get shot. Like, I'm gonna get off the, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I never, not one time, never, ever. But it's like a weight training exercise though, right? Like a mental, literally a mental exercise, bro.
Yeah.
How can you really keep yourself locked into a game without doing the stuff that everybody, like all the stuff that's cool that's gonna be on SportsCenter? Like, are you really gonna be happy?
Yep. Sit there, but I think Dre, I always say like how good Dre is. I said, bro, Dre thinks about himself 10th or 11th. So do you know how good you have to be
Easily.
to sit here, show up, and your coach say, don't shoot it all?
Easily.
Guard the dude shooting best man, and then when he's open, give him the ball, and then, hey, bro, if you don't make 3 out of your 6 shots, bro, you're not playing next week and a half. And you know what I mean?
It's
Like,
over.
and then why did you shoot 6
Right,
shots? Then you in the locker room, and they talking about this nigga. It's like, bro, I ain't got no rhythm. I ain't got no rhythm. Like, you know, it's the truth.
Like, damn, bro.
Yeah, you be mad.
I ain't touched the ball all game. Like, what you want me to do?
I was in the post.
You know how hard it is to hit an NBA 3 when you ain't dribbled the ball the whole quarter?
Bro.
They're like, here you go.
Bro,
Shoot that.
Bro, I went seasons without making an NBA 3. So.
Listen, man. I remember having a conversation with JJ Redick. I said this on JJ Redick's show. I said, listen, the referees, I had to explain to a referee one time when he was like, man, can you please hand me the ball after it go through the hoop or at the timeout? I'm like, listen, bro, I don't know if I'm going to see the ball go through the hoop tonight. I just need to see this.
I literally got texts. I was ready to argue with ref like, bro, I ain't touched the ball all game. If they throw me this ball in the corner, I got it. Like,
they wonder.
Bro, every time somebody shoot, I'm the first person. Every time. I may not touch the ball, bro. I play with James Harden, but I may not touch that thing, bro.
Or they be like, yo,
listen, bro. All right?
Of course, he ain't touched the ball playing with James Harden, but you have to have a lot of love for the game. Ooh, a lot of love for the game, man. To play without touching the ball? Sheesh.
Such a great free throw shooter.
Right.
It's like, no, I got to make all these big. I need this 8 points.
What did he say?
What'd he say?
When he made that big 3? Kobe passed me the ball. And I made the 3. Like, that was the big time. That was a big part of the finals. Like, he was like, I didn't know I was going to get it.
And then you look at your coach, you be like, man, how the hell we having real convo? I just played 40 minutes last night when 1 rebound, you had me guarding, 1 shot, you had me guarding Devin Booker.
I'm guarding the guy.
And last week I was on KD for his hottest week of his life.
Bro, listen, dog. And I get 1 shot. Like I'm guarding a dude that's going to shoot every time.
Yeah, straight up,
like
bro.
literally, I'm picking him up 94 feet, and I'm not touching the ball. Like, you know how you gotta like really, I'm telling you. And then he tear your ass up too. So you gotta like.
Yeah, you know how league
That's
works.
why I always
You gotta,
say,
bro. You gotta like. You gotta trick yourself.
Yeah, that's why I always say, shit, kiss my ass. I ain't overpaid. After everything else, kiss my ass.
What?
I was abused and victimized. I was not overpaid.
Yeah, Evan Turner's career is another topic of discussion because he was really better than how they used him, especially on the Celtics and especially on the Portland Trailblazers. He was very versatile. Good passer, rebounder, played defense, could make shots, but he was underutilized. But going back to PJ, just picking up KD 94 feet and he dropping like 50 on you. Sheesh. I can't imagine the mentality of that. Playing as hard as you can for 40 minutes and KD is just smoking you. So as PJ gets into the conversation, he emphasized how even though he worked his way up the roster and being one of the pivotal role men for the Houston Rockets along with the Milwaukee Bucks, that even through all that, he still had to come to the negotiating table every off season, still trying to negotiate his value. And it's almost like he had to bargain as if he still didn't do anything. They kind of used him being a role man, not taking shots, almost against him.
Laughing and shit, bro. Like, bro, you got these niggas.
That is funny. No, that's crazy, bro. That like for real, man.
It's so valuable because there's only a few of us that understand what it takes mentally to excel in that role.
For sure. And everybody, and they
And
can say whatever
your
they
teammates know how valuable you are.
1,000%.
And the GM know how valuable you are.
But
you know what's crazy? The team will negotiate your sacrificial services against you.
Bro.
Because they know you can't get a big deal somewhere else.
because they, listen, bro.
Because other teams don't know how valuable you are.
Listen, dog. That is, I'm telling you, like, I never talk about that. But to me, that's like one of the biggest. Everybody values us when they don't gotta pay you. Everybody value you. Every GM I see, everybody I see go something where, man, hey, I love your game, man. Look, nobody, man, I'm looking for 100 U's. Blah 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 blah. Let your contract come up.
No, time out. Yeah, bro, when my shit came up, I damn near told my agent, bro, you can't go nowhere with these numbers. Bro. Like, you can't do shit. You can't go nowhere with these numbers, man. Like,
What ends up happening is that the team used you in a way where they're the only ones to know that you're valuable. You're pretty much pigeonholed to them giving you a contract.
I'm gonna kick their ass later, bro. But you got me, all right? You got me. Like, before I know it, I'm in the basement. Like, you know what I mean?
Seriously though, because now if you do leave, bro, you could be in a situation where like dead ass, like you might not play.
Yeah.
The coach, whoever may not really value what you do now.
They don't appreciate that. If you're on a bad team, they don't appreciate none of that.
No, you can't play on a bad team.
We're gonna lose anyway.
You can't play, and that's the one thing I always will go to a better
you need
team.
A playoff team.
Less money on a playoff team than taking that like a lot of money on the worst team in the league, and
because then your career's gonna shorten.
It's over. It's crazy. My favorite coach ever, Mike D'Antoni. Yo, he's the funniest. I love Mike. Mike's the best, bro. Like literally, like. He's the best, like the most player coach of all time.
Yeah, he don't preach defense. It's just
but listen, like, why would he love me, right? Like, I am average 7, 8 points, like whatever. Mike, like literally, bro, I would have to beg him to take me out a lot of times. Like literally, he would be like, I'll go over. He'd be like we had our, you get your like we had a schedule, like you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And we always tweaked it or whatever. And then like big games, like we play Golden State, like I know I'm not coming out the game, right? Like I'm playing the whole game, cool. But then be games, I'd be like, yo, Mike, I go over like somebody shooting a free throw, like, yo, I need a second. He'd be like, nah, you're good. And I'd be like,
can you imagine that? You're so valuable to your team in an intangible way, so much that they use you up like that. But when it comes to the negotiating table, they find every which way to actually keep you as a minimum player on the team. But the value you bring to your team is something that can't really be measured.
He'd be like, nah, you good. He's like, hell, PJ, what you want me to do? Who am I put in? He'll look down, like, who else go? Like, nobody down here go guard nobody. Like, he would literally tell me that, right? Like,
it'd be like first to 150 with y'all.
For sure, right? Yo, listen, bro. Mike would play 6 people. I'm telling you, like, it ain't like, but the value in that, right? Like a coach having that much, like he value that much, where he's like he can't take you out the game.
But when it comes to the negotiation table, that value don't translate. That's not making sense. Either that coach got to vouch for you, something's up. He's using you like that. But when it comes to the negotiation table, that shit don't translate. It's just not adding up. And in a minute, we'll see how LeBron James's former agent, the guy who him and Rich Paul basically built the whole blueprint off of Clutch Sports, kind of emphasize how owners find every which way not to pay players. But let's get back to PJ.
Then when your contract come up, they be like, want to bring up every other thing. Your numbers. Your numbers ain't mattered not one bit the whole time you was there. Now your numbers matter.
So like anything in life, you got to negotiate. Everything is a battle. You got to play your position. You got to understand when to leverage your position. And LeBron's former agent, Mark Termody, spoke on this, on how he had to fight to get LeBron a max deal when he returned back to Cleveland. And it's crazy the fact that you could be LeBron James, increase your NBA's franchise net worth by over $500 million. But when it comes to the negotiation table, you still have to actually fight for what you deserve. And LeBron's agent is the same guy that's been running game on the NBA owners ever since Jordan was playing in the league. You've seen it with Jim Jackson. You've seen it with Ben Simmons, with the Philadelphia 76ers still getting paid. even though he had a back injury and he was out for most of the season. And you see the whole mantra of Clutch Sports is getting guys paid. So all this was built off the Mark Termini blueprint. Rich Paul has even stated himself, everything he's done with Clutch Sports is from learning from the Mark Termini tree. You guys check out what Mark had to say. Every once in a while, I'll check in.
Yeah, I'm playing a game and you're using your tactic. I'm not mad at you, but it's my job to recognize your tactic, to counter it, and to come up with my own tactics. If I told you the owners are great, we've got this deadline, whether it's a marketing deadline, I've heard religious holidays deadline, I've heard wedding deadlines, I've heard investment deadlines, and it's easy, especially if the agent and the player, and this is a very subliminal psychological trait that you guys will recognize as you see it, but maybe you've never really thought about it, where the agent and the player view themselves somewhat as inferior to the owner. The owner's a billionaire. These are very intimidating guys. The team is a very powerful institution. As one player told me that I highly respected him, but he was questioning a tactic. He goes, the man always wins. I'm like, well, not always. Not if somebody is skilled enough to exploit the needs or the weaknesses that the man has. I never accepted that. And I never went to the table with that. So that's where I came up with the axiom. I see too many people say, well, I've got to get this done by a certain day, whether it's because July 3rd, all my friends are going to ask me, why is my name not on the scroll at ESPN? And
then you hear also Woj emphasizes this all the time. And that messaging really comes from the owners. They use Woj to actually market this, as teams are not going to have enough money after July 3rd to sign players. Woj repeats this all the time. So best believe a lot of the information he get is on the behest of the owners.
I have to educate that client, say, who cares? Why are you imposing an artificial, free agency doesn't end until November, hypothetically. So why are you imposing an artificial deadline? I have to get my contract done by the 3rd. I have to get my contract done. I'm going on my honeymoon. I've heard all of these. And you have to have enough stature and experience to tell the player, like, look, I don't care about your honeymoon or your cruise or your holiday or whatever it is. When the deal is done properly and it's ready to sign, that's when it'll be done. And you're going to be a lot happier for it, young man, because you're going to look back and laugh and say, wow, why would I sacrifice my position for this artificial deadline that I imposed on myself? And people do it all the time in business. They'll just say, well, I'll get back to you with an answer by Wednesday. And I ask them, well, why are you imposing that deadline on yourself? Why don't you just wait? Because you don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday. Something else might come into the equation that you can use. So that's where that comes from. And why it applies to many different areas across the decades of negotiations, but also outside of the NBA negotiation.
So Mark Termini right there gives you an insight on some of the psychological games the owners do play. I mean, in general, all this plays out in life. Whether you negotiating at your own job, they play the same games. And it's important for everyone to understand that you have to negotiate your value. You have to understand when you have leverage and you put in the work and properly position yourself to get what you're worth. Once again, Mark Termini is LeBron's former agent. He's still in business with LeBron in a way because Clutch Sports is basically his blueprint. But Mark Termini still had to come to the table and go back and forth in order to get LeBron a supermax deal when he returned to Cleveland. Once again, you could be LeBron James, add over $500 million in net worth to your NBA franchise, but you still have to fight to get a supermax contract, which is almost pennies compared to what he's really worth to the franchise. So can you only imagine a player like PJ Tucker, a guy who worked his way up from being the 15th man on the roster? So not only mentally, when it comes to the game on the floor, it's challenging, not touching the ball, guarding the best player on the court, but also they're going to hold all that against you when you come to the negotiation table and you're supposed to monetize all that. So once again, it's a very unique time. We're getting a lot of different perspectives here. It's great to see the players kind of get their shit off. And hey, I don't mind it.
get ready to discuss lowballing. And I was just like, look, with all due respect, the game's 48 minutes. I done played 31 minutes. Fuck what you talking about. I'm important. So we go anywhere else. I'm in the top 6, top 7. You do the numbers when I finish the games, which is top 5, whatever. Like, I'll tell you what I view. You know what I mean? It's just like, nah, if I'm top 6 or 7 and I'm playing 30, you know what I mean? Like 60% of the game, 65, so I'm important, bro.
Yeah.
And shit, if I could hit a 3, I'll probably be playing, you know what I mean?
Right,
Like, so,
no, 100%.
but you really got to add that up to the situation.
The math don't get the math when it comes to that money, though. You cancel that.
Now, this would be a continuation of my series, Is Your Team Addicted to Trust the Process? And this will be Volume 2 starring the New Orleans Pelicans, as right now they sit at the middle of the Western Conference, and with plenty of draft assets, and especially 3-and-D players, this team has enough leverage to make a couple moves to actually get them over the hump. Now, just looking at their draft picks, in 2024, they have 3 first-rounders. 2025, they have 2 first-rounders and 3 second-round picks. For 2026, they have 2 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. And for 2027, they have 2 first-round picks and also 2 second-round picks. So once again, that is plenty of assets to make moves, because this roster right now is 12th in offense, 7th in defense. But there's a few players this season that are pretty redundant and even coming off an injury. Herb Jones, great shooting this season, 3-and-D guy. But him along with Dyson Daniels, it's kind of the same thing, except Dyson Daniels does not really shoot well, and his free throw shooting is not quite as sharp. Now, before I get to the obvious, which is the fit between Ingram and Zion, I want to say this: they don't have a guy to really create any offense. CJ McCollum is a combo guard who does not really play defense, but at times pairing him up with Alvarado does expose him a little bit in the front court, even though Alvarado does play good defense from time to time, but they're a little bit too small. Now, looking at their backcourt, guys like CJ McCollum, a combo guard that doesn't really play defense or is really good at creating for others. The Pelicans, in a way, are pretty much where the Clippers were at a few years ago, before they actually got someone to run that offense in James Harden, where they had their guys like Paul George and Kawhi actually being the creators off the dribble, and just having your main players just be that guys to run the offense sometimes leads to careless turnovers, and eventually it's going to lead to fatigue throughout the game. You want to get them the ball while they're in their spots, not from 30 feet out trying to create. And when you combine guys like Alvarado, Daniels, along with Zion, it's just too much bad free throw shooting on the floor at the same time. And speaking of Zion, the combination with him and Ingram sometimes doesn't quite fit, because Ingram at times, when they try to create spacing for each other, Ingram is not necessarily a catch and shoot guy. He's sort of a mid-range, off the dribble type of guy. He loves to attack the closeout. And Zion not being able to shoot, by the time he spaces out the floor, he's not really a threat from about 25 feet out or even 15 feet out. So it does create a conundrum there. And that really leads back to them in their crunch time minutes, how this team this season has been struggling. When you combine the bad free throw shooting between Zion, Daniels, and Alvarado, along with the poor spacing of Ingram and Zion, and especially Zion not really being a shooting threat, you start to see why the crunch time situations this season have pretty much gone left. Now, Valanciunas this season is on an expiring contract. And the Pelicans do need a center, because at times they do perform a lot better with Larry Nance down low. But I'm not sure if he could put in full minutes at that position. But with all the draft picks that they have and that $15 million coming off the books, they can get something. But that Ingram and Zion combination, they're going to have to make a decision on that, as next season, Ingram is going to be on an expiring, and he's going to be eligible for a new contract. So if the Pelicans want to continue to invest in a combination that sometimes doesn't really quite fit, they're going to have to make a decision on that. But just like the Oklahoma City Thunder, with all the draft assets they have, you got to know when to cash in. And the Pelicans right now, I believe they're one of these teams that are suffering from getting the best player available, especially with the trade involving Anthony Davis. They just got a bunch of players from the Lakers that were top picks. But the way this team is constructed, on paper, it looks good, but the fit is just not really working. Once again, they have a combination of bad free throw shooters. They don't really have a guard who can really shoot and create for others at the same time. CJ does one with the shooting, but he's not really good at creating for others. And then Alvarado is not really as good of a shooter, especially from the free throw line. And when you have multiple 3-and-D guys like Trey Murphy, Daniels, you got Hawkins, not necessarily a 3-and-D, but he's definitely shooting really good this season. You have all these guys on the bench, along with these draft picks. There's a move to be made here. But last but not least, the Pelicans are going to have to figure out what they're doing overall when it comes to roster construction. Are they fully committed into putting pieces that fit around Zion? Or are they just committed using Zion as a guy who gets some ticket sales and just putting a decent product on the floor? That's the only conundrum with a lot of these small market teams. It is what it is. So until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.